Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the KOLA Awards. Now, what does KOLA mean? KOLA, the Keep On Listening Awards. This is my way of acknowledging what I consider to be the 10 best discs of the year. I mean, I had to come up with something. Everybody does this. I have to be honest. I despise these award things. I mean, I founded and ran the Cannes Classical Awards at the MIDEM convention in Cannes, France for about 10 years. And that was, I think, the only really honest award that we ever tried to do. Because what we did was we had like 7 or 8 magazines from 7 or 8 different countries, and we polled all of their critics, and the editors of the magazines then put together a list of the best recordings in like 30 categories, and they sent them all to me, and then I took them all and collated them, and it was an actual democratic process. Of course, we had to kind of diddle everything to fit it into categories and whatnot, but we really had input from like 200 critics all around the world as to what the best recordings of the year were. So we got a really good representative sample. And we did that for about 10 years. And a remnant of this concept still exists, but it's not the same thing anymore at all. And the reason is for reasons you might expect, because the organization that was sponsoring it, that was the MIDEM organization, found out that it was successful and then immediately tried to take it over. And then they immediately tried to give awards to people who would come to meet him and spend money. So that sort of blew the whole concept right there, and it never really recovered. But for 10 years, we actually had a music award that I thought kind of made sense. And it wasn't a sort of a joke like the Grammy Awards, which of course gives you the publicity, but which involves, you have to be a voting member of NARAS, which is the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences, and then you have like block voting, so that the Atlanta Symphony would always win because everybody from Atlanta would vote for the Atlanta Symphony, whether or not they were in the classical music field, because you don't have to be in the field in which you were voting in order to vote for something. I mean, it's such a bogus process. It really is. It's just a PR opportunity, really. And I so that's what these things kind of tend to be. And, you just sort of pass out things to your friends. I mean, I'm not even going to talk about the Gramophone Awards. Oh my God. I mean, what a horror show those usually are. So in this particular iteration of the award concept, first of all, the only person who's doing these things is me. So I can't make any secret or pretense to objectivity. And I don't. I absolutely don't. These are simply 10 recordings that I think have been among the best that I've heard. Are they the best? Well, I mean, that's a stupid concept to begin with, but I think that they're marvelous. I think that you'll enjoy them. Some of them have been the subject of videos already, but not all of them. And because of that, I've had the opportunity to take in some of your comments from those of you who've heard them as well, and hopefully enjoyed them too. So to that extent, it reflects a slightly collaborative effort, which I am happy to share and to be able to participate in. And so these are just, I think, a good representative sample of what came out in 2020, or what I talked about or reviewed in 2020, because you can't be date specific anymore. Nobody knows what's getting released when and when things are released, and it's all such a mess. So I would really probably say that these are the awards for the top 10 recordings that I noticed in 2020 and that I talked about in 2020, and I call them the KOLA prizes. The Keep On Listening Awards, KOLA. Let's trademark that. Let's make sure we keep it in mind, because over the years, I know that getting a KOLA, not to be confused with a koala, that's a different thing. A KOLA is going to be the greatest honor in the entire world of classical music. You just wait and see, because you know what? these are really good recordings. They're really, really good recordings. I'm not kidding. They're really fantastic. And I have some sound samples from 4 of them that I'm going to have an opportunity to play for you. And if I tend to favor some labels that allow me to play samples, well, they're the smart ones. They deserve a little attention and extra credit as far as I'm concerned. And, there are dozens and dozens of great recordings that come out every year. So the fact that I just chose 10, well, I think you'll see that it's a fairly well spread out sample. I don't repeat any single label in this particular bunch, just like I tend not to repeat conductors, because I want to show what the industry is doing. I want you to have an opportunity to see who out there is doing great work and who I believe deserves to be rewarded for the great work that they've done. And there are just many labels that are doing fabulous things. Still, in this climate, in this psychotic atmosphere, with everything that's been going on in the world, there are still fabulous, fabulous recordings being released by a great many labels, large and small. And I am delighted to bring them to your attention. So, without further ado, here we go. First, we have to do an opera. Now, operas have sort of been hammered in this current climate because, first of all, the proliferation of DVDs of live productions, combined with the expense of producing opera recordings, and the dearth of major singers to produce them that everybody knows, like Pavarotti, people like that. It's made it difficult for major labels to do operatic productions, and they really were the exclusive province just about of major labels. However, there has been an exception, and that exception has been Baroque opera, which I guess is less expensive because the orchestra is smaller. I don't know. Also because of the number of really fabulous singers trained to do that kind of music. And nothing has been more rewarding, I think, than the proliferation of Handel operas on disc, because for 200 years, nobody performed any of them. And Handel wrote something like 43. There's a lot of them, and they are marvelous, absolutely marvelous. And none are more marvelous than Agrippina. This was Handel's first opera that he wrote in Italy. There were only a couple earlier ones before that he wrote before he went to Italy. And Agrippina is noteworthy for a lot of reasons. It is, first of all, a sort of tragic comedy thing, number one. Number two, the story. If you saw I, Claudius, the last couple of episodes where he marries he marries Agrippina. She's trying to get her son Nero installed on the throne. It's basically the same bunch of people who do Monteverdi's The Coronation of Poppaea, only that came a little bit later. It's really fast. I mean, not in time, in chronology. I mean, in plot, the story takes place after this one. And of course, as we all know, Agrippina would be killed by her son Nero eventually. And Handel set that as well as a cantata called Agrippina Going to Her Death. And that's a very serious piece. This is much more lighthearted. I mean, because what was happening in Rome in those days. Everybody was sleeping with everybody, and they were all trying to kill each other. It just is great plot material. But the wonderful thing about Agrippina is that it contains all of Handel's greatest hits from Italy up to that point. When he was in Italy, he wrote sacred music. He wrote about 100 cantatas, and he quarried them and took all the best bits and shoved them into this opera. The arias are generally quite short. They are delightful. The music is gorgeous. The action moves quickly. The story is really fun. And this is an amazing performance. I mean, and Agrippina has had many good recordings. I mean, let me see. I know I have one sitting right over here somewhere. It's right. Where did it go? Oh, here it is. Here it is, right here. Look. There it is. This was the René Jacob on Harmonia Mundi, which is absolutely fabulous. And this is the Agrippina of choice. But there's nothing more wonderful than seeing your reference recording overturned by a new one. And this one is just unbelievable. First of all, you have Joyce DiDonato as Agrippina. And she's, an amazing singer, an amazing Handel singer. And then we've got, let's see, Franco Fagioli, who is just a terrific countertenor, and Elsa Benoit, and Luca Pizzaroni, and Jakub Josef Orlinski. And, oh gosh, they're just fabulous. Absolutely fabulous singers. And let's see, the conductor is Maxim Emelyanichev. Thank you. Emelyanichev. It only took me twice to get that one. And he's conducting Il Pomodoro, the Big Tomato Baroque Orchestra. This is on Erato. And if you do not know Handel's operas, and you should, and you even shy away from listening to operas, which I think would be kind of a shame, you want to dip your toe in, get this. This is the perfect introduction to Handel's operas, to the world of Baroque opera, because it's just a great story, and the music is effervescent and just delightful from first note to last. So that is my first pick. And just so you know, all of the discs that I'm talking about, I actually made a list. It's on the description of this video down below. So there's a list of all the recordings we're talking about, so you know what they are. I know that sometimes I don't do that because I play samples and I'm moving kind of quickly. And for those of you who find my English difficult to digest or my voice impossible to tolerate, you have a list in writing. So there you go. Next. Oh, this is such a great record. I love this record. I did talk about these too, and I can't praise them highly enough. These are the Saint-Saëns piano concertos with Louis Lortie and the BBC Philharmonic under Edward Gardner. Now, these are, I think, important for a couple of reasons. First of all, the music is fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. All 5 of them are great. These actually appear on a couple of discs. I've talked about these several times because Saint-Saëns wrote a lot of short works for piano and orchestra too. And I talked about those in the talk on short pieces for piano and orchestra. You get all the piano concertos on 2 discs and a couple more shorter pieces on the disc that has the cello concertos and the Carnival of the Animals. But these 2 discs of the piano concertos are exceptional. Exceptional. This is music that deserves so much more serious attention and praise and respect than it ever gets. I know the 5th is the Egyptian concerto. It's exotic and sort of orientalist, and people go, it's trashy sounding. No, it isn't. It's just beautiful. Simply, wonderfully beautiful music. And formally, incredibly imaginative. I mean, the 4th concerto is a work of genius. It's in 2 movements. It's a mixture of sort of, Lutheran chorale Bach-like music with fugues and French cabaret tunes. I mean, it has a huge range of reference. It sounds like nobody else. It's all presented with Saint-Saëns' typical clarity and craftsmanship. I can't praise this music enough. And it's been getting a lot of attention recently, and a lot of very good attention recently. I mean, there really are a lot of decent Saint-Saëns piano concerto cycles. But these, first of all, restore to the music the Lisztian virtuosity that was really part of Saint-Saëns' makeup. It's not all just brittle, cute Frenchness, if you want to call it that. But also, just as fine are the accompaniments under Edward Gardner. And, I often trash the BBC Philharmonic as being the world's dullest orchestra. And, they can be, but they can also be marvelous when they have a conductor who makes them play and who galvanizes them to play. And that's what happens here. It's a splendid recording. You listen to the 2nd movement of the Egyptian concerto, and there's just no comparison with any other version that's ever been recorded in terms of rhythmic sharpness, excitement, and just, sort of slashing modernity of the writing. Oh my God, it's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So, on Chandos, Louis Lortie, Edward Gardner, the BBC Philharmonic doing Saint-Saëns' 5 piano concertos. And this one has number 3 and number 5. Oh my God, at the opening of number 3 with these gorgeous piano arpeggios underneath the horn theme that sort of sounds like a dimly remembered opening of Schubert's, great C major symphony. It's great. Just great. So that's a must. Now, I have a couple entries here in the chamber music field. One of them is this absolutely stupendous disc of of piano quintets by Edward Elgar and Amy Beach. Boy, were these made for each other. Nobody particularly likes the Elgar Quintet, which is really a lovely work. It really is. And as for Beach, well, she gets trotted out because she's a major female composer. Then you listen to the music and you go, oh, God, it's just sort of conservative nothingness. But it's not. She was really a very, very good composer. I mean, she was, even though she was a woman. And I don't say that to be like hostile or politically incorrect. I say that because we should not let her sex matter in our evaluation of whether or not she wrote good music. And I think the Piano Quintet really is her masterpiece. It's obviously conservative. It's in a Brahmsian vein, but it's good music. Very passionate, beautifully constructed, imaginatively written for the instruments. Must be rewarding. It must be a very rewarding piece to play. And it goes perfectly with the Elgar because, he was another one. People only like him because he was a woman. No, I'm just kidding. There's a lot of really good music out there that doesn't get played. Elgar was not known for his chamber music. He really wasn't. It wasn't his field. And what's more, the Piano Quintet is a late work, and it's generally accepted that his late music represented a falling off in his creative urge, in his audacity, and a certain introspective vein. And all of that may be true, but he still had a lot of good music in him. And his Piano Quintet is one of those pieces, and it just makes a perfect coupling with this thing. And look at who you've got doing it. You've got the Takács Quartet with Garrick Ohlsson, piano. I mean, what an amazing lineup. And this is one of those discs that one of the things, I say this all the time, and you do too, we've talked about this, the fact of the matter is that there is a lot of great music out there, but it suffers from the fact that it gets second-rate performances. And a second-rate performance of a great piece can make it sound second-rate, and music that's unfamiliar, it deserves first-class treatment. So we can understand in a great performance if it really is great music or not, And this is a great performance of music that really reveals just how good it is when it's played at this level of insight and sophistication and interpretive intelligence. That's what it needs. So thank you to Hyperion for giving us a stunning chamber music disc. And thank you to the players for taking the time and trouble to actually learn the music, internalize it, and play it so magnificently. So, Elgar and Beach, piano quintets. Oh, yes. Next. Oh, this is so much fun. This is our first musical example, too. Oh, boy. César Franck orchestral music. Now, as you may know, Naxos has a series going on with conductor Jean-Luc Tingaud and the Royal Scottish National Orchestra doing French orchestral music, and they're doing it superbly. They're doing it so wonderfully, wonderfully well. It's just thrilling. They did have Stéphane Deneuve. Remember, they did some stuff with him, the Roussel series, which was just as fabulous. But then he, left the Royal Scottish National Orchestra, and he went on to other things on other labels. So he's history. Thank God they have this guy, Jean-Luc Tingaud, doing marvelous French orchestral music. I mean, he's done the ultimate Poulenc disc with the Sinfonietta and Les Biches. He did a great Dandy Second Symphony. These are wonderful discs. And this latest one, this Franck, is beautiful. You get Le Chasseur maudit, the complete Psyché. You never hear Psyché, because it's got chorus and because Franck's wife thought it was too sexy and was offended by it. And Les Éolides. It's just terrific. And here is a little sample of the end of Le Chasseur maudit when the demonic critters are chasing him through all eternity in the perpetual doomed hunt of the accursed huntsman. hot stuff, right? Oh, it's exciting as all hell. And it's just a wonderful performance of really fabulous music. And Franck is another one of those composers who's sort of underrated because he's French and because, everyone played the symphony in D minor to death. And, he really deserves to be taken a little bit more seriously. I remember when I first heard the Chasseur maudit, because I, like most of you, probably knew Franck only from the symphony in D minor. And you realize he wrote this just fantastic, cool tone poem with like wonderful orchestration. And it's just full of gumption and excitement. And no one ever plays it. It's been recorded a lot of times. But when was the last time you saw a performance? It's just terrible. It's a tragedy. It's so much fun. Oh my God, I've played it. It's really fun to play. I mean, in my community orchestra where we did everything that no one else was doing just because we could. And my God, it's a great piece. So that on Naxos is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Next, in the world of solo piano music, this I think was self-recommending. Alkan, the Symphony for Solo Piano and the Concerto for Solo Piano on one disc. It's a long disc, right? Isn't it? It's like 78 minutes. Yeah, 78 minutes and 32 seconds. Played by Paul Wee. Now, Paul Wee is a London-based attorney who happens to be a piano virtuoso on the level, at least, of Marc-André Hamelin. In fact, he can play things even faster and just as accurately, and he does it here on this disc. This is unbelievable. I mean, if you love this music, even if you have Hamelin, even if you thought no one could do it better than Hamelin, you got to hear this. This is a stunning smoker of a disc. It's absolutely unbelievable. Thrilling. And I think that, it's again, it indicates really how much the music has come along, that it's being performed now with so much mastery and so much gusto. Back in the day when Ronald Smith first gave us this music, we thought, geez, nobody could play it. It was impossible. Or Raymond Lewenthal, there were only a couple pianists who even would dare attempt it. And they did it with, sometimes successfully, sometimes a little bit less so, but with obvious strain on their technique. Not here. Holy cow. The performances are amazing. It's not just empty virtuosity. I mean, like Hamelin, he's able to actually shape and give thought to what he's doing at, speeds and with clusters of notes that you would think are simply inhuman. So, this is just like my piano disc of the year. It really is. It's an amazing recording. Absolutely amazing. And BIS has him. They got him on BIS. So great stuff. Next, let's see. Voices and orchestra, choral music. I did a video on this, and I cannot recommend it highly enough. This is such a wonderful piece. Martinu, Bouquet of Flowers. This is a cantata based on Czech folk poems, and it ought to be as popular as Carmina Burana or Belshazzar's Feast or any of those 20th century choral classics. It is fabulous, fabulous music. I think the only problem with it, frankly, is that you need to have a children's choir. Of course, you need that for Carmina Burana too. So why is that a problem? I don't know. It is glorious. About 40 minutes long, just perfect length. It's wonderful. And you can hear a little bit of it in the video that I did on this recording. But the other reason that I really want to bring this to your attention again is because of the coupling, which is Jan Novák, who lived from 1921 to 1984, his Philharmonic dances. Now, this is a guy who was really influenced by Martinu. And it's so much fun to listen to this music. If you know your Martinu, if you love Martinu, as I do, you listen to this and you go, yeah, it's in that style, only sort of modernized a little bit more and with a different sort of melodic, angle on it, and harmonic, a little bit more acerbic harmonically. But the influence is terribly clear. I'm going to play you a little bit of the finale of the Philharmonic dances. It's just great. It's absolutely great. It's like Martinu with a sort of sarcastic twist to it, you know? Here you go. Now, this performance features the conductor is Tomáš Netopil, Netopil with the Prague Philharmonic Orchestra, and I'm sorry, the Prague Radio Symphony Orchestra, and the Prague Philharmonic Choir and Children's Choir, and a bunch of soloists. And the only other recording of this that's available, Libor Pešek did one for Panton, I think, that was out of print for a long time, was Ancherl's in mono. So to have a really great stereo recording of this is so, so important. And you really should get it. And we need to thank Supraphon for sticking with their Czech heritage and continuing to do sterling work with Dvorak and Martinu and Janáček and all these just great, great, great composers, Czech composers, Novák, Suk. It's great. What a fabulous tradition. So Martinu's Bouquet of Flowers, it's absolutely a must. Glorious piece. Oh, and I really want to say, I should mention, the packaging here is really important. It's really good. You get a big booklet with texts and translations of everything. So don't worry about the fact that it's in Czech. I mean, it's really, let me just take it out here and show you, because here it is. Here's the booklet. It's beautifully printed, nicely done. The texts are like in 5 languages here, It's a class act. We don't see these very much anymore. I mean, if at all. I mean, now that we're in the digital download period, it's like, well, you can go find some sort of like streaming thing online and find something and hopefully a text will be there somewhere. But these guys have done it right. They've created a beautiful product that is worth owning and adding to your collection. And I think that deserves some credit too. We have to mention that because we're so far past the time where our expectations are ever met as collectors, as people who want to know what we're listening to and understand what we're listening to. So kudos to Supraphon for doing such a beautiful job. Next, another disc that I did a talk about. Actually, I've done talks about 2 of these, and two yes and 2 no. I just have to mention this. Another in the chamber music field, the Reicha Quatuor Scientifique. There's been a lot of Reicha coming out, especially piano music, and we're going to talk about it because it's really extraordinary stuff. Reicha was just a cool dude. He really was. One of the few teachers that Berlioz could tolerate, an open-minded, experimental, fascinating guy who it was amazing that he actually had a career in France where everything was so institutionalized. But, he wrote in quarter tones. He wrote pieces in 5/4 time, including the finale of this quartet. He wrote very, very strange fugues on very, very odd subjects, including Mozart's Hofner Symphony, the opening, which is in this quartet. I did a talk about it, an extensive talk about a video with sound samples that you can go listen to there. But boy, is this a discovery. This is all about fugues for string quartet and other kinds of music. And it's on Brilliant Classics. And it features the Reicha Quartet playing the Reicha Quatuor Scientifique, and also this weird sort of la pantomime, a sort of theatrical scene for string quartet. It has a thunderstorm in the middle of it and all kinds of weird stuff going on. It's so quirky and original and such a joy to listen to it. It's wonderfully performed here on this disc, and I don't know what else to say, except it's unique. It's the kind of thing that deserves to be recognized as the best of the year. And it's what we collectors are looking for. Something off the beaten track that we haven't heard a million times before, but also that's fabulous, imaginative, great music. So Reicha, Quatuor Scientifique. You got to hear it. You just got to hear it. It's just great. Okay, in the contemporary music vein, this you probably saw coming because I also did a talk about this, and boy, is this great. Harold Shapiro. I did a whole talk on Harold Shapiro generally, but this was the latest release. The orchestral works with the Boston Modern Orchestra Project under Gil Rose. It's just a labor of love. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful performances of exceptionally well-crafted music. It's neoclassical with a vengeance. You know, Shapiro was a great admirer of Stravinsky, and he wrote in that style, only sort of more so, but with his own slant on it. And his combination of sort of modern rhythmic and harmonic language with the use of older models it really is personal. And there's not so much music by Harold Shapiro. You know, there's a symphony for classical orchestra, a couple orchestral pieces, a handful of piano and chamber works. He told me when I was talking to him about, why he didn't write more music. And he's like, well, nobody plays it very well. And I have this good teaching job, and it really is a lot of work. And I'm happy doing what I'm doing. But he was a real creative, imaginative, creative genius in his way. He really was. And this is a fabulous disc. You get the Sinfonia in C minor, his Credo for orchestra, the Partita in C for piano and small orchestra, which is extraordinary, just extraordinary, great fun. And On Green Mountain for jazz ensemble. It's a jazz ensemble reimagining of a Green Mountain, Monteverdi, of a Monteverdi madrigal. He took a Monteverdi madrigal, and he sort of jazzed it up. You won't recognize the Monteverdi, but it's just so cool the way he did it. And finally, the Serenade in D for string orchestra, which is one of his great masterpieces also. So Harold Shapiro with the Boston Modern Orchestra Project, an exceptional, exceptional disc, and without question, one of the best of 2020. Next, also some contemporary music. I like contemporary music. I know some of you people have said, well, because I make fun of Pierre Boulez, but I don't like contemporary music. That isn't true. I just don't like contemporary music that sucks. And frankly, Boulez isn't even that contemporary anymore. He's passé. He's a has-been. We don't need to deal with him. So, this is a great disc. Absolutely great disc. I reviewed this on ClassicsToday.com. If some of you may have seen that review, but this is the first time I've had the opportunity to talk about it here, and it is a thrill. 20th century harpsichord concertos played by Jory Vinokour, and wow, this is just hot stuff. He's accompanied by the Chicago Philharmonic, not the Chicago Symphony, the Chicago Philharmonic, under Scott Speck on CD. And this disc just blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. It's a knockout. Absolutely a knockout. You get Walter Lay's Concertino for harpsichord and strings, and Ned Rorem's Concertino da Camera, which is a world premiere recording, and Michael Nyman's Concerto for amplified harpsichord and strings, which is delicious. And best of all, the centerpiece of the entire disc, Victor Kalabas. Now, Kalabas, his Concerto for harpsichord and strings, Opus 42, that is a major, major, major work. It's in 3 big movements. It lasts about half an hour. Kalabas was the husband of the great Czech harpsichord virtuosa Zuzana Růžičková. And he composed this work for her, and she recorded it. It's on Supraphon, although it may be difficult to find now. And I think it's an extraordinary piece of music. If you like something like Bartók's music for strings, percussion, and celesta, you're going to really like the Kalabas Concerto for harpsichords and strings. I'm going to play you a little bit from the finale. It's a dark and brooding work. It's not easy music by any stretch of the imagination, but it's deeply felt, deeply emotional, and a similar combination of sort of very modern harmonic idiom with occasional glimpses of a folk-like element in the background. And the writing for the harpsichord is just nuts. I mean, it's really cool. He uses every possible combination of harpsichord with the string orchestra. I mean, the sonorities are just exquisitely imagined. It's really a masterpiece. It really, really is. And this is an astonishing recording. You know, I'm just, speechless. Stunning engineering. Here's a little bit of the finale. You hear for yourself. I hope you can hear that really is kind of special, and a wonderful voice. Calabrese was a very, very good composer. I'll be talking about some of his other works as well because they're available on Supraphon, and he deserves some attention, some really serious attention as a 20th century compositional voice, as does his wife, who passed away in 2017, Zuzana Ruzicova, whose Bach I talked about in my 10 greatest Bach sets in the history of mankind or something like that. Her complete Bach keyboard work. She was the first person to do it for Arado. They were quite a pair, a real musical power couple. However, there's one last one, and these are in no order of preference, I have to tell you. But here's a disc. I don't even think I reviewed this one yet. I was saving it. I loved it. And sometimes, when you really hear something and you love it, and I'm like professional, I'm supposed to write about it, right? And I just don't want to. I want to keep it. I want to keep it for myself, just to treasure it because I love it so much. And somehow, it seems like, when I have to write about it, it loses something of that specialness and personal, quality it has for me. And that's wrong because I should be promoting it. I should be screaming about it. So this is my opportunity to trumpet the glories of this disc to the skies. Dvorak, piano trios, the Dumke and number 3 in F minor with the Tetzlaffs and Lars Vogt. Wow. Boy, is this a hot disc. I mean, these people, they play with this perfect ensemble, but perfect romantic freedom. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, they just breathe as like one human being. It's amazing how they play. The pulse is always flexible, but always perfectly attuned to where the music wants to go and what it's doing. It is amazing to me that there can be performances that are as inflected as these are, but which never sound mannered or in any way artificial or fussy. They're just great. I mean, the spontaneity is always there, but the ensemble is always absolutely amazing. And I'm going to play you a bit. I'm going to play you a bit of the trio, of the scherzo of the F minor trio. Now, I personally think that Dvorak's F minor trio is the greatest piano trio written in the entire 19th century. And I'm including Schubert and Beethoven in there. This is an incredible piece of music. Absolutely incredible. It's written with amazing compositional skill. It's as sophisticated as the best things by Brahms, but it is saturated, and I mean saturated, with Dvorakian melody. Just gorgeous, gorgeous tunes. Incredible, insanely fabulous tunes everywhere. And to demonstrate that, I'm just playing the trio of the scherzo, which is usually kind of a throwaway moment, right? It's the middle section. You only hear it once. It's not a big deal. But my God, this is gorgeous and imaginatively written for the instruments, too. I mean, just the sonority of the piece is exquisite. And in this performance, it's particularly so. Listen to this. I mean, listen to this and think about when was the last time you heard it or paid attention to it. But this is the kind of stuff that Dvorak did all his life. I mean, it's such great, great music. Doesn't that just make you feel good? I mean, doesn't it make you feel like hopeful for the, possibilities of humankind? There's something just ennobling, frankly, about this music. It really does. It's transformative, I think. I mean, I really do. And this is such a great recording. Ondine just nailed it with this one. And I think that I just can't recommend it highly enough. If you haven't heard it, get it. Listen to it, savor it, love it, live with it like I did. I mean, I've lived with it now. This may be older than a year. I don't know. I couldn't even talk about it. I just wanted to listen to it over and over again. And you will too. So it's Dvorak Trios numbers 3 and 4 on Ondine with the Tetzlaffs, Christian and Tanya, and Lars Vogt on the piano. Wow. So that, my friends, is my list of the 10 best recordings of the year. Well, 10 most noteworthy. The KOLA Awards, which I name after all of you and us, all of us, because we keep on listening and we hear these things. The Keep On Listening Awards, which I think are going to be a thing going forward. If I live long enough, I'm going to do it once a year. But there's more to come, I have to tell you, because there will be an album of the year. And that will be a talk all by itself. I think it deserves to be a talk all by itself. And when you see it, you will agree with me. So stay tuned, because the KOLA album of the year is still coming. And until we get to that point, my friends, Kol, without the keep on listening. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care. Bye-bye.